This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the US. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-8444-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Achtung Millwall podcast supports the Lions Food Hub, dear listeners, and you can do too by getting yourself an Achtung Millwall t-shirt from noonelikes.co.uk, also known as Nolu Clothing. They've got a wonderful Achtung Millwall t-shirt on there for £15. At least £8 of each sale goes to support the Lions Food Hub, which does fantastic work for families in and around the South East 16 area. Show your allegiances on the podcast front, dear listeners, by getting yourself an Achtung Millwall t-shirt, and by doing that, you'll support the wonderful, the brilliant Lions Food Hub. Noonelikes.co.uk, Achtung Millwall t-shirt, £15. Check it out.
You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Burnley. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung Millwall. My name is Nick Cart. You're listening to the number one Millwall podcast. Long while ago, a man called Ian Dury sang a song, listeners, referring to Sweet Jean Vincent, in which the chances were slender and the beauties were brief. And so they were yesterday for about 60 to 120 seconds. The beauties were very, very brief indeed. Joining me is a man who probably remembers those kind of hit numbers from all those years ago. It's Merv Payne. How are you, Merv?
I'm good, Nick. Yeah. I've got an Ian Dury offering of my own, to be honest.
Oh, go, yeah.
I think we've got lots of reasons to be cheerful. I think after, despite the disappointment yesterday, obviously there was a lot of. And the frustration is understandable, especially at the final whistle on social media and stuff. I saw a lot of unfair comments, I thought, really.
Yeah.
And like you say, for 120 glorious seconds, it was that, oh, wow, we could do this. You know, we looked really good. But the bottom line is, and we've said this a lot of times this season, I think, sometimes you've got to give the other team credit. I thought Burnley were really good, you know.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
They will come straight back down, but they look head and shoulders above anything else they and Leeds both look, you know, a league apart, and the points that they've accumulated, it says that as well. But yeah, no disgrace, and we put up a really good fight. We gave a really good show of it. But you sort of felt it was one of those games where even if Coburn had to put that chance away, you felt Burnley were going to score every time they attacked us, didn't they? Because they had so much, you know, up front, so much that we perhaps need to look at emulating next season. Just that little bit more pace and all those options. But yeah, when you're going forward, but we're only going to get better.
I watched the extended highlights, about a 12-minute reel, listeners, on Millwall TV, and it was a tremendous start. Just to focus on our goal for a moment, because I thought in many respects our performance kind of encapsulated our season in a way, because there was some really good stuff in that game yesterday from the Millwall perspective, and I absolutely second what you said about Burnley. I thought they looked a tremendous side, and when they attacked, especially in the second half, we were clinging on for by our fingernails, really. But the goal that we scored, I thought, was a beautifully taken, beautifully executed move, and beautifully taken.
It was worthy of the Premier League, that goal, the way he took it. Yeah, it was definitely.
Yeah, so if people want reasons to be cheerful, I deliberately didn't go on social media after, because I think that you don't get balanced judgments, but also people are speaking in the heat of the moment. But have a look at that goal. If anyone out there is I don't know what they were saying, but it's a beautiful move, a long ball forwards, beautiful overlap by George Honeyman, Merv.
Yeah,
cross into the near post, and there's the man himself, Ivanovic, to nip in and put it away with aplomb. And
such an instinctive finish, wasn't it? He looks every bit the proper proper striker, the proper poacher, goal getter, sort of striker that we need, and you need in the Championship. I mean, what's that, 12-13 this season now? I think
something like that. I mean, for a striker that was kind of not written off, but he wasn't exactly encouraged by his early experiences at the Den. He's come a long way.
No,
and I thought,
we were told he wasn't ready. Yeah, we were told he wasn't ready, and he had a great season.
So then we had the best of Millwall, that flowing move, and then we had the kind of worst of us from kickoff, pretty much. Because it was one each, pretty much. There's a bit of bad luck and a bit of poor judgment, and all came together in a wicked cocktail that allowed Burnley to, get straight back into the game. And you're right. I mean, I know that there's obviously the other screaming chance, which I'm sure he's getting slaughtered for online, Josh Coburn, but some days they go in. Most days they go in. Some days they just don't when you need it most. But I think Burnley were at a level, or are at a level, I should say, where they probably would have worked their way back into that game no matter what. And you saw that in the second half, didn't you? The waves of attacks,
Yeah, I felt that our best chance of winning that match was to just keep it at 0-0 for as long as possible, to frustrate them as long as possible, and that goal that Ivanovic got would have had to have come in like the 95th minute. Really, I think and also I think what didn't help us, these things, these days pan out, and there's always lots of twists and turns. But I think when Burnley went in at half time at 1-1 and would have heard that Leeds were losing at Plymouth, suddenly they had an incentive, because they were rank outsiders to win the title because of the goal difference that Leeds had over them. And they probably, if they'd have gone in and Leeds had been 3-0 up, they probably thought, well, but they had a real incentive, and that probably gave Parker a good team talk to give them, to say, right, you go out and win the league now, win the title. And I think that probably did for us. That gave them that little bit of extra incentive, really. And you saw that sort of hunger in them, and obviously it turned out that Leeds won in the end, and they didn't get the title. But I think that just sort of did for us.
Well, they peppered that goal in the second half, didn't they?
I think the possession was something like 75%. That's 75% possession, I think, which Alex Neil said before the game was always going to. You knew that would be the case. You knew we'd have to sort of like just try and nick bits and pieces off of them. But it just wasn't to be.
I mean, again, I just want to mention to the listeners. I mean, as we've just said, Merv and I just said, we've got peppered in the second half. I'm just looking at my notes. First 20 minutes of the second half, it's pretty much shot saved by Evans, who did well again, incidentally, listeners. 19-year-old Jill Jones. But in amongst that, I've got some terrific defending, some terrific tackling, and a break where Femi Aziz scuffed a shot, and he kind of hit it, and I think it got pushed around the post on a breakout defence. So, it was a lot, but it wasn't entirely one-way traffic. It was very heavy traffic, that's for sure. Culminating in the goal in the 65th minute, which was that was the ball long forwards where he got behind Kramer. I thought had a pretty tough afternoon of it. Kramer, I think he was up against some decent.
He was up against good players, and again, he's out of position. It's not his favourite position.
He's out of position.
And I saw a lot of criticism for him, but and yet when he is in that position, he's so good going forward as well. He gets forward and he gets crosses in. He's really valuable in that respect. So
Well, it was his cross
Can't
that
even argue.
gave Coburn the chance.
Exactly. You know,
You
he's
know,
so valuable in that respect, and he has to be one of the highlights of the season signing wise. I think it was a
yeah.
brilliant signing. If we can unearth a couple more of them, that's the sort of signing we should be going after. These players that perhaps aren't quite getting into the Premier League teams, but are of clearly close to Premier League standard, and
Yeah.
don't cost the earth. You know, if we can pick up a few of them in the summer, then the future's definitely bright.
I mean, I thought, last 10 minutes, we actually tried to make a bit of a rally of things and a few moments going forwards. We looked tired, Merv, I thought, as it got to the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And then obviously the late not consolation was the word, the finishing goal, the free kick.
The killer goal, really, wasn't it?
The killer goal. Disappointing to concede that, but there we are. But I think we gave 100%. And I haven't, I deliberately haven't read the criticism online because I find it quite annoying when I see stuff.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself, to be honest. Yeah, it's a bit of a,
it's a downer on a day where we shouldn't be down. I think we actually did brilliantly to get ourselves in that position, and the performance we put in there, Merv, was hold your heads up higher because I think, you can always look at the errors, but have a look at what we did right there. I think we did a lot right in that match. Finished 3-1, and of course that was the end of the dream.
Yeah.
We finished 8th, which on another note, Merv, I mean, you might have seen the poster put on there, but
I did. Yeah,
that's amongst our best ever, historically, our best ever finishes.
I know.
We don't finish 8th very often. We've done it a few years, the last few years or so, under Gary Rowett and Neil Harris prior to that.
Yeah.
But if you exclude the first division seasons,
great finish.
That's right. I think I can't remember if I made it 10th or 10th or 11th best ever Millwall finish.
140 years.
140 years.
Yeah, 140 years of being a football club, and we've just got our 10th or 11th, whatever best ever finish. You wouldn't have seen that.
Squad that's had a change of management, injuries galore, a media circus haunting it, and the whole season has been a roller coaster ride. So I think to finish there, you got to take your hat off to the squad. It's easy to focus on the errors that maybe, and as you've said, we're up against a very decent side there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a side point. I mean, I think you're right about Burnley struggling in the Premier League. I think they'll, like Ipswich and Southampton, and who was the other team that's coming down this season?
Leicester, isn't it? All three come straight back down. I think it's only the second time it's happened, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to note, Merv, that those three teams actually dominated the Championship when they were last in it.
This is
and won it decisively, and yet they look lost in the Premier League. So
it's getting so competitive.
Yeah. So we'll see how Leeds and Burnley they'll got their own business to look after, but I think it's a very difficult level to reach. And also have a look at Luton that's got relegated now straight from the Premier League. Straight downwards,
I was going to say probably the best way to approach yesterday's disappointment, if there is any left, is to go back not over yesterday, not even over the last season, but over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
2 years ago we were sitting here and we were quite numb that we'd missed out on a playoff place in that game against Blackburn when it was literally in the bag at 3-1 at half time, and we were sort of, it almost felt like a relegation, and Luton went on to get in the playoffs, win the playoffs, get into Premier League, and there was that real sort of feeling that could and should have been us. But then, I mean, that disappointment was replaced a couple of months later, obviously, with something far more serious when, obviously, John Berylson was sort of so tragically sort of taken away. And since then, the club could have been in a lot of trouble then, and I'm sure even if he decided to to step back and put his son in charge, it would have been a tough transition. But for his son to take over in those circumstances, and obviously it wasn't a smooth road. He wanted to change things and do things differently. We had a management change. We had a dice with relegation. We pulled ourselves out of that. Thanks to Neil Harris. We've had lots of upheaval this year. Obviously, we've lost Matty Sarkic as well, tragically. The club's been through a hell of a lot, non-footballing wise, in the last 2 years, and to be where we are now is, to finish 8th, to become so close to the playoffs. But unlike previous years, and I've said this on various posts and stuff, unlike the years under Gary Rowett when we finished just shy of a playoff spot, the problem then was that was done largely with loan players that we had no chance of signing.
Yeah.
So the aftermath of that was those loan players went away. The squad was instantly weakened, and we were faced with building it up again just to try and go and match that. But now, obviously there are loan players. There's Coburn and there's Sturge, etc. But
Yeah,
there's good chances we can sign them, and I think we should mention Zach Sturge, who's been brilliant. The last 2 games, he looks a
I
great player.
agree.
And
Good
if he's out of
performance yesterday.
contract, if he's available, then I think we need to go and get him. But we're looking at being able to actually build on that near miss with a really good team that's going to be better next year anyway. We're going to have players coming back from injury, the likes of Bangura Williams and Egley.
Yeah,
Hopefully money to invest still. So we're in. When you consider what we've been through the last 2 years, to be where the position we're in now is absolutely amazing, and it's obviously a lot of credit to the Berylsons as usual.
for the investment.
That's why I can't really find any disappointment in what happened yesterday. I just can only sort of see some encouragement and sort of look forward to the next season.
No, I mean the only I was thinking before kickoff, what if I'm disappointed? How would I be disappointed? And it would only have been if we hadn't have brought our game to the table, our A game, as they say now.
If we really
and
flopped,
we very much did that, and we got beaten by a better side. And Alex Neil was man enough to say that after the game. So you've got to take your hat off to that.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at the signings we made back on the point of reasons to be cheerful, just to continue the theme, listener. I mean, if Aaron Connolly remains an enigma, and I'm not sure what will become of him. He wasn't in the squad yesterday, albeit a very talented boy, but with issues. So let's leave it alone. Tristan Kramer was signed in January. I think he's been an unadulterated hit. Revelation. Luke Cundall, the jury may be out. It might have made its decision. I don't know, but then we've got a lot of prospects. I mean, we've only seen glimpses of Camille Negley, the goal he scored the other day. He's gone injured, but we've got the likes of AJ Matthews, who we have yet to really see. We know nothing of Benicio Baker, Benny Baker. Zach Lovelace, we've only known from old. We haven't seen him yet because of injury. And then obviously, as you said, Zach Sturge. So there's a lot of other youngsters like Bangura and the like. There's a lot to be looking forward to with hope, I think.
Definitely,
New season's always it's a blank slate and we start from scratch. And I'm also very hopeful, Merv, with Alex Neil, because he's a slight contrast with some of the, I suppose the biggest contrast would be with Neil Harris, who's much more of a personality-driven, vein bulging on the forehead type of manager. Whereas Neil does look like more of a calmer, thinking kind of manager. They also
definitely
he'll put his hand up to errors. I wasn't convinced yesterday when he took Ivanovic off, but I don't know if I've seen seen any questioning of him on that. But he does at least say when he thinks he's got it wrong, and I think that's
he's not afraid to have a go as well. He's
not afraid to have a go. No, and so we did.
Stick to the same old system, and I think a common phrase was under previous managers was that the definition of madness is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, and I think that's what we might have been guilty of at times under previous managers, but it is a breath of fresh air when you've got a manager that tries to change things around a bit. And like we said last time we spoke last week, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Classic example being Plymouth away, which some people will say perhaps was one of the many games you could point to and say, well, there's the 3 points we needed to get in the playoffs. We should have got them. But it's just it's been a really steep learning curve for Alex Neil. We came in at a really tough time. Came in at Christmas when there was game. I think games every couple of days.
I think it was Saturday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, wasn't it? Relentless.
Yeah. He had no real chance to get the players on the training ground and try stuff. He was just straight in at the deep end, And I think I made this point earlier to someone on X about that weird spell where Harris was going, and I think we threw 10 points away somewhere. It was a 10-game spell, and the decision to let Harris stay for another 2. That weird sort of transition spell was struck. And I made the point that perhaps in an ideal world, I mean, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, especially in football. But in an ideal world, maybe last summer Neil Harris would have, ridden off into the sunset, having achieved the miracle of keeping us up. Yeah. And then there was a big change behind the scenes where Gallen came in, and the recruitment thing was changed up. And then perhaps if Alex Neil had come in then, who knows what might have happened if he'd had a pre-season with them, a full season. But even then, we may have got the playoff place, but I can't help thinking we'd still just that little bit short, and we still perhaps would have been a Championship team come August, to be honest.
I think you're right. I think there's a depth needed to seriously
Yeah.
challenge at the top end. We've kind of in a very typical Millwall style. We've put together a run on a wing and a prayer, haven't we?
Yep.
Practically 1/3 of our senior squad seem to be out injured or not
Yep.
available for whatever reason. And yeah, somehow we've got ourselves into this last day position where briefly we were in place. So if that wasn't the most Millwall of situations, I don't know what it ever will
Yeah,
be. But
it absolutely was. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, so for 120 seconds we were in fifth, weren't we? We actually leapfrogged above Bristol City, who made a real mess of it.
yeah,
Of getting. I mean, I don't think any of the playoff teams were in particularly good form, to be honest. I mean, Sheffield United.
I mean nerves take over. I mean
Yeah,
that's
probably
another
is.
thing.
But
Another
I mean,
thing
at
for our
one point,
side, you know.
because I kept thinking, there's always a twist. There's always a late twist, and it was
Yeah,
beginning to look like that twist was going to be Blackburn, ironically, nicking Bristol City's place, which would have been unbelievable. But obviously, we
yeah,
hoped and prayed the twist was going to come with us in our benefit. But it was obvious by that stage it wasn't. But in the end, the only real twist was Leeds sort of nicking the title off of Burnley at the last minute. Everything else seemed to sort of fizzle out in the second half. You know, the relegation issues and
yeah.
promotion issues seemed to just sort of settle as they were at half time. But yeah, it just wasn't to be.
But there we are, dear listeners. That's the 24-25 season done and finally dusted yesterday. 3-1 loss at Turf Moor, albeit with our heads held high, in my opinion. Merv, I want to say a big thank you for joining me on the show this season, mate.
I've enjoyed it, mate. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it makes
Highs
it
and all
makes
the
a
lows.
yeah, and it makes a really nice kind of format, and I hope listeners are enjoying it. Maybe I can invite you back again next season if you're still if I haven't repelled you too much.
Not at all. I'd love to. I love it. Yeah, definitely. Nick. Yeah. You try
That's
stopping.
fantastic. So a big thank you to Merv. Thank you to the listeners. Stay tuned because after the break, we've got our ever popular voicemails.
Achtung, Millwall.
Welcome back, dear listeners. Thank you to Merv for joining me earlier on today to discuss yesterday's end of season finale. I just want, before we go over to the voicemails, just wanted to say a personal thank you to everyone who sent me content this season. There's far too many to name individually, so I just wanted to send a generic thank you to every single contributor to this show, but also all the other voicemail shows we've done this season. They've been very popular. And also to you too for listening into the show. We've actually managed to generate over 1,100 quid for the Food Hub this season, out of the takings for, the revenues rather, for Achtung Millwall. So I just wanted to say a personal thank you to everyone that sent me stuff this season, and to you too, dear listener, for tuning in and listening so often across the season. It really does do good, as well as hopefully helping you enjoy the whole Millwall thing. So we're going to take you now to the voicemails. We've got quite a few for this edition, as you might expect, for that end of season game yesterday. I'm going to run them all back to back. I shall be taking a bit of a break from podcasting now for a few weeks over the summertime. I'll certainly be back midsummer, trying to put a show together in midsummer, but we'll see how that goes. But for certain, we'll be back in August when the new campaign starts. Unfortunately, back in the Championship for Millwall, but as we've said a few times, we set out in hope for next season. So until then, from me, Nick Hart, Arrivederci Millwall, thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Hello.
Evening, Nick. Jim Hack here after the final day and the final hope extinguished by Burnley, but I'll just make a couple of observations or comments. In fact, I'll probably do this in two parts, really. In the first part is all about today's game. I thought, we played so well. The goal we got, when Mihailo put it away, fantastic goal. Can't say we didn't deserve it, but we didn't attack that much. But when we did attack, we certainly looked like we had something going on, and we got that goal. And then the bloody calamity defending. How many times during this season have we seen that where, something that should be done, winning the first ball or winning the second ball, doesn't quite happen properly, and then Kuba clearing it into Ashley Barnes, and it sort of breaks to their lad, and all the things that can go wrong when we defend like that do, and they put it away, and that within sort of minute, 2 minutes of us taking the lead, we didn't have any time to actually sit and build again, and see how it went, and then you go again, and then the Coburn miss. I mean, you can slaughter him for missing that as a centre forward, and the fact that he got his foot on it, it was harder to miss than it was to score. But unfortunately, he has that sort of knack every now and then of that happening. But then he'll pop up with a good goal. So, it's harsh to be moaning about him being the reason why we didn't win, because I think Burnley were the better side, and it was obvious as the game developed. They were functional. I don't think they were particularly brilliant. I just think they just full of running. They had good players playing, within themselves, making sure they kept the ball well and plenty of movement. And they've got that twat Hannibal in the middle of the park, and he was one I just wish somebody would put a big tackle in on him just to get him off, because he's one of them players that I can't stand. So full of themselves, he certainly wouldn't fit in as a Millwall player. So maybe that's why I see sort of red light when I see him. But they did that, and they had good players playing. But overall, I thought 1-1 at half time. We weathered a couple of little storms, but they didn't really cut us open too often. Their wide players flattered a little bit to get good crosses in, and if they could have got good crosses in, they might have stood a better chance. But at half time, I thought obviously they'd come at a second half, because for them it was about winning the game and hoping that Leeds didn't get anything out of theirs, or didn't get a win. But second half, and again when it was 1-1, you could see Burnley sort of hurrying things and getting around us and sort of snapping away and being quick with the ball and with the movement. But again, the chances, the semi-chances they had or got close to, I thought George Evans played very well. I thought Cooper actually cleared a lot of danger, and I thought he played well, to be fair. But his Tanganga, I thought he was pretty ropey second half, and it's not like him, I know that, but today I thought he was found wanting, and as the game developed, that we gave the free kick away, and again it's one of those free kicks that we might have not. It might not have been a free kick, but the referee gave it. They then took it from somewhere that wasn't where the free kick was, and the fact that he's played the ball to where he's played it, and Kramer is sort of turning the wrong way to be able to deal with the ball, and then when he does sort of get there, the lad has already got the march on him, and he goes through and he puts it away, without nothing Evans can do about that. But it was just another part of that sort of defending that we really struggle with. If teams play quick against us like that, then it causes us problems. And then after that, we were huffing and puffing, and I think there's a couple of little half charges. I suppose there was one that went in where I don't know what Ivanovic was doing, because the ball was clipped in, and it looked fantastic for him to just run and get his head on it, but somehow he sort of ducks underneath it, and I've got a feeling that Roberts or whoever the Burnley defender was might have shouted for it, and possibly Mihailo didn't realise and sort of left it thinking somebody else was coming in behind him. But I wish he'd have just put his head through it and then sort of had somebody moan about him after. But after that, we got to the last couple of minutes, and there's again the free kick on the edge of the box. I think it started with our poor defending that ended up with them getting the free kick, and obviously Brownell put it in. Again, not a lot Evans could do about it. You've got to say it's just a good goal. But overall, the fans that went up there were magnificent. You could hear them all the time on the TV, and they didn't let the players down at all, and the players didn't really let them down. I thought they gave everything they could effort-wise, a little bit of quality in different areas. You could see the squad was sort of dismantled just by the substitutes that came on. We offered nothing with our substitutions. The only sort of comment I would make about the team today and how it ended up where it ended up was that I don't think those two goals that they scored, the first two goals, would have got to where they got if Leonard had been playing. Because I think as a right back, he's a lot more used to dealing with those sort of crossfield balls that Kramer seemed to struggle with, and the first one, Tanganga, for some reason, has gone to challenge for a ball that Kramer's going to get. And by not heading it properly and getting in Kramer's way, our two defenders are out of the game, and then that's just left Cooper and Sturgeon. And, as it turned out, it didn't matter because Cooper smashed the ball into Barnes, and, that's what it was. But I thought Leonard might have done a little bit better there. But again, it's just it's being picky on, players who possibly could have done better today. But no, overall, I thought the team did as well as they could have been expected to do. The fans were fantastic, and I think everybody appreciated that. Everybody who watched it would have appreciated that. Second part really is talking about next season, where I think we are a couple of players light if we are going to do this big push that everybody seems to be going on about and thinking we're going to sort of be a lot better next season. I think the league this year has been pretty poor. I think next year it'll probably be a little better with the teams that are coming up and coming down. And for us to have any chance of sort of pushing forward as everybody's hoping we are, I think we've got to get better players in not just in the middle of the park, but in the middle of the team. So we've got to get, if Tanganga stays, which I think if I was a Premier League team looking at Tanganga today and possibly the last few games, he wouldn't be on my radar. So it'll be a team that's going to be pushing for promotion that might fancy him. And then whether he goes or doesn't go is down to him. But I would like to think that he'll stay. And if he stays, then I think we've got to get a better centre-half than Cooper. And it's not a slight on Jake Cooper, but he's just not good enough to help us push forward. If we want to get better, we've got to get a better player in his position. That could be that it's Tanganga and Cranmer play as the two centre-backs. And, Cranmer played left side centre-back for Exeter, in his previous sort of outings with them, and supposedly did quite well. So I don't think he'd be a problem there, but I don't think Jake Cooper's the player to help us move forward as a club or as a team. He's given us great service, and he could always be a backup centre-back, but for me, he's not the man, and I do like him as a player. And the second one is somebody alongside Casper De Norre, and I know Billy Mitchell was having that little run before he got injured, and the way he was improving, maybe he is the lad that can make all the changes for us. But when you look at all these good sides in the Championship, their centre midfield players, they've always got a ball winner, come Casper type player, but they also have somebody who can open up defences and just do that little thing. It's no secret. You look at Brownhill for Burnley. I think he scored 18 or 19 goals this year, and he's a centre midfielder. So maybe that's what we should be looking for, just somebody with extra quality to go in there and give us that X factor that we don't have. And again, wide players, we can't survive on the players we've got. The George Honeyman, Cundall playing out wide. It's putting a square peg in a round hole, and it won't work if we're going to push forward. And for that, we've got to have a bigger squad. We've got all these players that we've signed, but as they're all injured, we don't know how good they are. Negley might come back and get another injury. So have we got two Negleys? I don't suppose we have, but we do need to get players in that will help us go to the next level. But overall, it's the spine of the team that works for me. I think I would sign Coburn. I know that's not going to be popular with some people after today, but I would sign him, and hopefully AJ Matthews will come good. And we've got Mihailo. So, that will be three decent strikers if, and it is a big if, Nisbet fancies coming back and he's doing very well in Scotland. If he could bring that sort of form with him, because he's got fitter up there and maybe his mental attitude slightly better, then he could be an X-factor player for us as a striker. But, I'm just sort of throwing that out there. But I think we've got to make sort of better judgment in some of the signings we get in terms of quality. And obviously that's going to cost some money. So we'll have to see how that works out over the summer. But overall, end of the season, fantastic season considering the turmoil we've gone through. Just got to hope now that the summer is kind to us. No big mishaps, no heartbreaking stories that we've had over the last few years, and we then hit the next season running. And let's hope so, because I think in Alex Neil we've got a good manager, and the club seems to be on the up at the moment. So on behalf of myself and my dog, Nick, thanks very much to Achtung Millwall. Thanks to all the Achtung Millwall listeners, and hopefully see you in the new season. So come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. Hello, listeners. Ben Anthony here, calling in after the end of the season, which hasn't gone the way that we'd quite dreamed, I guess. But I think it was just a match too far, one too many, and we've had that before. And I mean, crikey, to have to play Burnley at home, who haven't lost all season and have been on an incredible run and fighting for the title and 100 points. I think it was a massive, massive ask of our still quite depleted squad, who you have to give massive credit to. They've been remarkable, and I'm so proud of this team and really impressed with them, and optimistic really for the future. If we're honest, I think this season we weren't ready for playoffs anyway. We're nowhere near ready. We've just been starting to rebuild a squad. We've had 2 very difficult summers in terms of our chairman dying and our goalkeeper passing away. And it's been a really rough couple of years for this club. And we're coming out the end of that with some optimism. We feel like a club on the rise. And I think it was a year too soon anyway. And I really hope that we can have a good transfer window in the summer and keep a few players who are coming out of contract up level in a couple of positions. And if we can have a reasonable run without the ridiculous injury crisis that we've been sort of subjected to pretty much all season, then we have a reason to be optimistic that actually we can give it a real good go next year. And maybe next year will be the year we finally breach that top 6. However, finishing 8th, if somebody had said to me we'll finish 8th in November or December, I think I'd have laughed in your face. So what an achievement, and what a job Alex Neil's doing. So well done to those that travelled. You were loud and proud and did the club proud, and well done to the squad and to Alex Neil and everyone involved at the club. And I hope everyone has a great summer, and I'll see you in whenever it is. August. All right, bye.
Hello, Nick. This is Nick over in Newcastle, Australia. Been a couple of weeks since I've sent a note in, but I thought after last night I probably should send something in to you. Bit gutted this morning after last night, but not too down in the dumps. What a way to finish the season, really, eh? Can't fault them too much. It was always going to be a big ask going up to a gaff like Burnley and expect us to turn them over and come away with the 3 points, plus needing results to go our way. It was always a big ask. But saying that, started the game well. Looked like Alex Neil set us up to have a real good go at it, which is lovely to see. Mihailo taking that goal brilliantly, and he's just going from strength to strength, that kid. Exciting he is. But I did say to some of the other Australian Millwall lot in our WhatsApp group that I thought that Coburn miss might come back to haunt us. Said it at half-time. I'm like, you watch. I really hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the arse. I mean, poor kid's been great for us, but you got to do better from 1 yard out with an open goal, haven't you? Still, Burnley came out second half, double strong. Looked like we were chasing shadows a little bit at times, but we still looked like we wanted to have a go at it. But Burnley's quality just overcame us in the end. And when that second one went in, it was always going to be a bit of a mountain to climb. And then obviously the third one went in to us. As weird as it sounds, though, how good was it when Leeds scored late and dash Burnley's last-minute champion celebrations? That was something to see. What weird atmosphere in that ground at the end, though. I mean, on the TV over here, all I could hear was the Millwall lot. They'd just been promoted to the Premiership, and the ground looked silent. Camera goes on Scott Parker and the squad walking around the ground. Even they looked a bit pissed off about it, flapping their arms around as if to say, come on, we've just fucking been promoted. What do you want? Camera goes to everyone in the crowd. They're all flicking their phones looking at the Leeds result. Like, I get it. You want to be champions, lovely. but you've just been fucking promoted. Come on, be half happy, will ya? Anyway, fucking 2-bob club. Anyway, what a season though, Nick. Full of drama, ups and downs. Harris leaving sort of just before halfway mark. And weird little drama surrounding that whole departure, with him sort of having a little bit of a bite at the fan base, or did he? And then going, and us kind of sorry to see him go, but most of us knowing that it was probably the right time for him to go. To Alex Neil coming in, dealing with shitloads of injuries, and having to work with the squad that he had available. But you could see that there's some changes coming. To the Palace debacle and that whole madness that surrounded it. Poor old Roberts and the targeting that he got. To the biggest transfer window we've probably seen as Millwall fans. And maddest part of all of that is that there's still players from that transfer window that we've seen, we're yet to see feature. To then all of a sudden, looks like Alex Neil's plans are sort of clicking into place a little bit, and we go on a bit of a run and climb up that table and leave us weeks out from the end of the season wondering whether we might make playoffs, to obviously getting down to yesterday and the last game of the season. And to finish it all off, even more injuries on top of that, week after week. Recent ones, Brian, obviously, and Jensen, who's going to be out for a massive chunk. But all in all, fantastic season. Wouldn't have it any other way as a Millwall fan, would we? It's always going to be pretty drama-filled. And that leads us on to the summer and next season. I think they'll go away, clear their heads, get nice and fresh, and come back and go again. And what a strong position we probably will be come next season. And what a squad Alex Neil's got to start his first full season as Millwall manager. Probably a couple of areas that we might look to improve in. Who knows what Tanganga's going to do, whether he finally wants to go up to the Premiership, or you never know, after winning Player of the Season and the way we finished strong this season, he might want to stick around and have another go with us. Be fantastic if he does, but who knows what he's thinking. But we also do have Kramer to come in and replace him if need be. Jensen obviously going to be out for what is looking like a good chunk of next season, so we might need to look at a replacement in goal. Despite Evans looking pretty tidy for a youngster at 19 coming in right at the end of the season and doing a job, it might be an area that we want to look and try and strengthen, knowing that we've got our number one out for, I don't know, probably the first half of next season. All in all though, Nick, top season and really happy with the way it finished up. Such a strong position for us to be in as a club. Love it. Nick, want to say thank you for another great season of Millwall content. Love tuning in every week. My favourite Millwall podcast, or content as you lot call it. Massive job, Nick. And you nail it every week, mate. Just want to say thank you for that. Anyway, I'll stop waffling on now, Nick. Hope you all have a lovely summer, and let's go again next year. Come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.
Hello, Nick. It's Hassan here. And as they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap, folks. So that's the end of a quite tremendous season, really. The ups and downs of it was something which you couldn't write. Unfortunately, today was a step too. Well, I've said that a couple of weeks ago, it was a step too far, but unfortunately, we couldn't get the job done today. But that's not due to lack of effort or will to try and win the game. I mean, the first half we pretty much equal for a team who were top of the league, or second or champions elect. They we more than matched them, and we we done well to get in front. Good goal, good build-up play as well by the boys. Good goal by Ivanovic, and typical Millwall, really, isn't it? Just throw it away instantly. I mean, Cooper, I'm pretty sure we've done that a couple of times this season. It might have been Cooper done it in another game, possibly Tanganga. But when it comes to clearing our lines, sometimes we are so bad. It happened a couple of times today. We panic so much, and the ball just ping-pongs around. And it fell to their player, and he slotted it away for 1-1. That was really frustrating. And to make things worse, I mean, that miss by Coburn, well, let's face it, he doesn't need us to tell him how disappointing that was. I mean, I didn't go to the game, but I was watching it at home, and I literally leapt off my sofa ready to celebrate and fell crashing to my knees. And I looked up at the TV. Alex Neil done the same thing. He was on one knee, and oh, it was such a bad miss. In a game of that magnitude as well, in a team we were playing in Burnley, they looked a bit shaky at the back. I think because we was putting it up on them. Again, they play this playing out the back, and you can see why they do it, because I think their ideas, because we try and close them down as much as they can. As soon as they clear the strikers and two of the centre mids, a lot of their forward players are got a lot of space, and I think that's how they scored most of their goals. But otherwise, we contained them as best we could. But again, like a team like Burnley, you've got to be taking those chances. In the second half, I mean, I think they turned it up a little bit. We huffed and puffed. We just looked tired in the end, and unfortunately, just didn't have the legs to try and get another goal. But it is what it is. As far as I'm concerned, we were walking wounded going into that. We were like Rocky in Rocky 1. We got to the final bell. We got right to the final bell, battered and bruised. With a half a squad. And Nick, let's face it, mate. Could you imagine if we played Burnley today with Jensen in goal, with Joe Bryan at left back, with, I don't know, Kramer or Cooper or Tanganga as centre backs, Leonard at right back. If we had Negley on the pitch, we had Bangura Williams, Billy Mitchell, I think it would have been maybe a different story. And we could say that about most of the back end of the season. So, again, going in today, I wasn't nervous. There was nothing to be nervous about. It was a complete free hit. No one was there was no expectations of us to get in the playoffs, and we've done everything we could to try and get there. But it is what it is now, and big summer ahead for Alex Neil and the club, because I think we set our stall out now to say to other teams who are coming up into the championship, coming down, and teams that are in it, that we're now top 10 sides, and we're looking to improve on that. I'm assuming he'll get the financial backing in the window. He has to. Whether that comes from selling players, I think the way the club is going at the moment with selling and buying, selling to buy. Let's face it, the most obvious one is Tanganga. He's only cost us win wages. There was no transfer fee. If someone comes with a big check, they're going to take it. And it'd be interesting to see who moves out the door in the summer. I think there'll be one or two surprising names who are going to be released, and I hate to say it, maybe one or two main stalwarts, but we'll wait and see. But otherwise, yeah, that's that. In terms of the playoffs, who's going to win it? Do you know what? I'll be honest with you, Nick. I think whoever goes up in the playoffs, they're going to get absolutely battered in the Premier League next season. They all look bloody awful. Sunderland have been shit. It's lucky they got all the points they did early part of the season. They've been awful the second part of the season since about March, April. Sheffield United are on the ropes. Bristol City, Coventry, they're about the same as each other. They both stumbled across the line in the end. The only team who I think Coventry might do it, just because at least they won their last game. The other lot are just tripping and falling over each other. So I can see a Coventry Bristol City final. But good luck to them. And yeah, that's that now. We can all take a break. And Nick, I'd like to say thank you to you. You kept us entertained this season. I've really enjoyed being part of your show with the voicemails. It's always good to get your feelings off your chest, and also to hear other fans as well. And you find yourself disagreeing or agreeing and thinking, "Oh, it's not just me seeing that; other people are seeing it." So yeah, that's that. So thanks, Tim. I hope you have a lovely summer. Hopefully you do some sort of, if you do some sort of pre-season show or thoughts and feelings about signings, I'd like to be part of that. But yeah, all the best, Nick, and come with your Lions.
Nick, Aussie Dave here. After the last game of the season against Burnley, at the end of the day, they were just too good, but we did have our chances. Just one observation. I thought at half-time Karma was getting a run around from their left winger, Anthony, and bring Lennon on. But really, that's Nick he picked in. Good performance on the day, just met a really good team. Overall for the season now, I'm left with three feelings. Number one, proud. Proud of the team, proud of the management, proud of our fellow supporters. Second feeling, optimism. Next season, if we get a couple of 2 or 3 good players in and we don't get too many injuries, we should be up there fighting for the playoffs. And the third and final feeling, lucky. Lucky to be a Millwall supporter. Best job in the world. See you next season, Nick. Come on, you Lions.
Joe from Chicago here. Been too long, but what a season for Millwall. Obviously, the result is what the result is. Coburn's got to score that. We don't give up the mistakes, and we had a chance, right? Those first 2 goals were preventable, but whatever. We were never going to win that game. Natasha Bedingfield was in the stadium for Burnley. We were never winning that game. What a season, though. The confidence, the football we saw, the desire to win, and the desire to win well. The character shown by the young guys in this club was so awesome. It was so fun. Aziz, Mihailo, who knows if Coburn comes back. I mean, he moves at glacial pace, but I like the kid. I think he will learn a lot from this year, and I could see him coming back so hungry after missing that shot off the post. Just what a fun season. What a fun club. We had everything. I thought we were going to be contenders for relegation, and we were competing for a playoff spot on decision day at Burnley. We were one of the only teams that scored twice against Burnley in both games. We kind of were chaotic in the championship this year, and isn't that what we want to be right now? We're doing our best to get to the point where we can be a Premier League team, maybe, but wow. Oh my gosh. Watching live as Leyton Orient's got a coach sent off. Oh my gosh, I love soccer. Come on, you Lions. Best sport in the world, best club in the world, best fans in the world. God, you guys were amazing at Turf Moor today. Just sensational. Love this club. Come on, you Lions. Can't wait for it next year.
Nick Hart, Bobby T, and the proud Millwall team. I'm deflated a little bit, but I'm proud of the boys. We lost 2-1. I think we lost 2-1. I'm not checking yet. Don't know how Bristol City got into that playoffs and Coventry, but hey, it's not meant to be this season. Great fight. Bit gutted we lost, but hey, roll on to August. Excited for the new project. Get a few dead without. Finish 8th. Same old Millwall, innit? Always get so near and so yet far. I could say I'm fuming. I'm deflated. I'm fucking pissed off, really. Because we could have beat Burnley today. But hey, I'm proud. Bye for now. See you in August.
Hello, Nick. Danny here. Just wasn't to be, was it? Burnley were way too good. That second half, I think even if Coburn scored, they would still be. They were all over us. Kramer couldn't handle that down the right, could he? Just really couldn't. Jaffa didn't have his best game either. But I think Burnley showed how good they were today. But I'm excited for next season. See what transfer period we do and see what happens. But yeah, cheers for this season, Nick. I say it's always good to hear the games from the den. Yeah, thanks for everything you do, mate. And on to next season and enjoy the summer. Come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. It's Matt Richards. Just dialing in, mate, with my thoughts after today's game. I mean, it was Yeah, it's obviously disappointing. But it's not a crushing disappointment. Not like it would have been, or like it was for Blackburn a couple of years ago. We knew it was going to be a tall order. But yeah, I mean, it was nice, like just having the excitement of the last day, because it could have happened. We could have got into the playoffs. It just wasn't to be, and I thought Alex Neil approached it. They went for it. They approached it the right way. But if we'd tried to sit back against Burnley, they would have beaten us. So we had to go for it. We had to play two up front, and we got the goal lead. And sloppy defending, obviously, for the second goal, which was frustrating. But I'm not going to dig players out because they fought and they battled and they gave everything. That's what I saw today. People are going to pick up about Coburn's miss, and yeah, it was a terrible miss. But I still, you still kind of look at that Burnley team, and it would have been a tall order if we'd been 2-1 up. There's a lot of the game to go. That's still the first half. Would we have kept them out? Bear in mind we had to win. I mean, the chances they squandered, really. I thought George Evans had a really good game. Really confident, and he looks like he's got a promising career ahead of him. Maybe with us, but they would have beaten us today, I think. When I kind of try and think of it in an unbiased way. And that's no shame. Look at them. They are a Premier League team now. They were last season as well. The finances they've got, the quality of players they've got, not just on the pitch when they start, but what they can bring off the bench as well. There's no shame in losing. Well, it was 3-1, I know, but I mean that was the last knock-ins, wasn't it? The last goal. So very proud of the boys today. Very proud of them, and I think they should be proud of the season. Bearing in mind the first half of the season we had, with Sarkic, Harris, Gallen kind of falling out. It's been a great second half of the season, and it gives us a lot of hope for next year. Really, that's what we've got to think about. I'm sure that's what you'll be talking about, and a lot of the other callers will be talking about as well. I think there's a lot of confidence or positivity, I should say, about next year, and I think the aim, because I think Championship will be as average as it was this year, and the aim I think should be let's not worry about that last bloody game of the season where we have to rely on other teams. Let's get into that top six. I think if we reinforce correctly, and we've got good core players here, then I think that's definitely achievable. I think the players that have come in done really well. Not all of them, but it's what you get with any kind of transfer window. But you look for the likes of Femi Aziz, Ivanovic, Kramer. Really, really good buys. I think Jensen was doing well before obviously his injury.
You got Kandel, who hasn't done as well, but I think that the hit rate is pretty good. So if we can get a similar hit rate from the reinforcements in the summer, maybe keep Tanganga, because I don't think that's a definite he's going to go. Then I think we've got lots to be positive about next year. So that's I'm going to end it. End of the 24-25 season. Well done to you, Nick, for putting these shows out. You can put your feet up now for a few weeks. I'm sure you'll do some shows over the summer because there's going to be loads of there's always news going on in there. So I look forward to those. But yeah, put your feet up, mate. Well done. And finally, come on, you Lions. Cheers.
Nick Hart, Arrivederci Millwall, one more time. Apologise for my language. I just lost it because I thought at 1-1 we were getting close. And then, look, the end line is, or the bottom of the matter, Christian Kramer apparently was shit today. We need to have a good clear out in the summer. We've got a good team, whether we keep Tatanga. I'm proud of the boys. Finishing 8th again, and we were 17th with Neil Harris. Alex and Neil, I trust, roll on August. We will bounce back and we will finish in the top 4 next season. Bye for now, Bobby signing of August. Millwall till our day. Meh.
And Coburn must score. Well, there we are. Perhaps that miss summed up our season. So close, but far enough from the end of season bun fight for this season at least. We were in 6th place for all of 2 minutes. But I think we all know We all knew deep down it wasn't going to hold. And I'm not talking about us old sweats who'd been round the block with Millwall for 60 years. But it was the sheer enormity of winning a game against a team that hadn't lost a home game all season and praying for snookers in 2 other games. Just an observation, Nick. Do you think that Scott Parker looks more than a bit like a Thunderbird's puppet? Japhet Tanganga was going around shaking hands with his colleagues at the end of the match, and I thought that was quite telling, actually. And you don't need to be a conspiracy theorist to realise that Turf Moor was his swan song as a Lion. Acknowledge your teammates on the battlefield and not on the team bus. The lack of goals in the team ultimately cost us this season, only 47 from 46 games. Only 3 teams in the Championship. Stoke City, Hull City, Luton Town have scored less than us, and this issue needs to be addressed in the summer if we are to continue to be upwardly mobile. Let's back the gaffer and sign the players he needs to create and score the goals to turn defeats into draws and draws into wins to mount a serious playoff challenge and hit the ground running in August. I loved your graphic on the Achtung Millwall Twitter feed about our 8th place finish being amongst our best ever finishes since entering the Football League, Nick. That was in the 2021 season. You did miss one season off, the 2017-18 season, but we have now finished 8th in the second tier on 6 occasions in our history, a position only bettered on 10 other occasions in 104 years. As ever, thanks for all your podcasts this season. Putting up with bird shit corner again for all of us dear listeners. Have a great summer, mate, and see you on the other side.
Achtung, Millwall.
Hi Nick, David Liederkramer here. After the 3-1 loss against Burnley, I watched it in rather unusual circumstances in Singapore, where I'm visiting my son and his family, and we all are all Mill supporters, and we're all huddled around the television hoping for the best. Of course, it wasn't to be. There were differing views about whether or not the Coburn miss at the end of the first half was game-changing. I thought it wasn't, because I think that Burnley were just going to be too strong in the second half anyway. But my son and grandson both thought that if we'd have gone in at half-time 2-1 up, it might have made all the difference. But who knows? It didn't happen, so it's all conjecture. I'm sure, like a lot of other people who are making contribution to the Achtung Millwall podcast today, they and I are very proud of everything the team has done since Alex Neil came in, and of course before. I think Ivanovic has been the standout this season. Tanganga, of course, is a terrific player, but Ivanovic has shown his worth, and scoring 12 goals on his debut season for a player who's aged 20 is an amazing achievement for his first year in the English Championship. The close season will be interesting. I can see that we're going to need a few additions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion over the summer on podcasts and elsewhere about who we need, so maybe this isn't the right time to go into any detail. Clearly, to me, we need a specialist right back, and I think we probably need more strengthening in the midfield, where we must create more if we're going to hold on to possession and give the forwards better chances. The big conundrum will be Coburn. A lot of people will be on his back after that miss. I personally think that he is worth persevering with. I think we should buy him, but not at any price. Given his age and his experience, I would have thought maximum 3 million, but that's a debate that, as I say, will no doubt happen another time. All in all, I am very proud of this team. I think that they've shown tremendous togetherness. Teams who, in theory, should have expected to have done far better than us, such as Borough, Norwich and so on, are lower in the table than we are. And I think, as you pointed out, an 8th position finish is very good, bearing in mind our history, and I think ranks amongst certainly the top 10, I think, finishes that we've had in our existence. So that's worth a lot of praise. Anyway, I better go now. Singapore is very hot and humid, but I thought I'd send you this voice note and have a great summer. Bye.
Hello, Nick. It's Barnsley here. Just watched the game. Pretty raw at the moment. Obviously, very disappointed. Really thought we could go there and maybe get something, but if you look at the table and how many goals these guys have conceded, it was always going to be a big ask. But I think it settles in. When you take it all in, you're going to pinpoint to results. Where we lost it, where we should have got the result, but from where we was, it's been a bit of a up and down season. I think the manager changing again, but I'm so proud of the boys. They were just brilliant. Today, that support up there was phenomenal. You could hear them all game, and hats off to the supporters going all the way up there. And did they really think we could do it? Maybe, but still, we've got to be proud of that team and what a job Alex Neil's done and this staff, and have come in there and to get us challenging it's just been brilliant, hasn't it? It's absolutely fantastic. Today's game, really defensively, started off really well, and I don't think many teams have gone there and turned Burnley around like we have. They were we were causing trouble, up top with the two guys. And obviously you score that goal, and I think was it Paisley or something said, you're most vulnerable when you scored a goal, and that said it. I think we got a big side. Tanga went for a ball, didn't get it, and then Cooper smashing it off the fellow, and then Barnes, that tackle. Is it a foul? I don't know. I think we've got to win that ball. That second ball is so important, and they're on you, and they put it away, and that sort of put us back a little bit. And then obviously Coburn's massive miss, wasn't it? If we'd have gone in 2-1, could have been a bit squeaky bum time for them, but it's all ifs and buts, isn't it? And then you could tell by the first half they were hammering down our flanks, and obviously Aziz is great going forward. We don't want him, helping Sturge out because we needed to win. So I think in another game you probably would have played someone helping Sturge, down that left. But we had to go for it, and that's what we did. And we caused trouble in certain areas. And I think the cross that went in, and what's saying, Big Serb missed it. I don't know what he was doing. He must have had a call from someone to say leave it. It's probably one of their players. But it's all ifs and buts. But I think defensively today wasn't our best, and I think they kind of let the other players down. But everyone who went out today played. Over the season, they've played well, and it's been to go at the end of the season and in the chance, and that's testament to the players and the staff. And there's going to be a lot of players leaving out of contract. We know that, and I think if I was on the Alex Neil train now, I'd be proper on it now, saying I want to sign for you, and from the outside as well. Look at where we placed in that position. We're a strong team, and we've got great support. And I think for any player that wants to join us, jump on board with the old Alex Neil train, because I think we're going places. We've had a lot of injuries. If we can sort it out next year and have some good quality that comes in, why not? Why can't we be challenging for those top places? We like to stuff it up, these big teams that come down from the Premier League. That's what we're good at. We always play better against better teams, and next season we go again. And I'm proud of the boys. I really am. And we should be, it hurts now, but we should be holding our head up high, and next year we make a big push for this, because I think we can do it. Anyway, we've got a game on Tuesday. I can't wait to walk out on that pitch, so please come down, support the food hub down at Millwall, and watch all the old fellas play football. It'll be a laugh. Anyway, mate, I'm going to miss my calls with you, and have a good summer, and we go again next year. Come on, you Lions.
Hey, Nick, Glyn here. So, okay, disappointing result, but let's be honest, the defeating Burnley at their own ground and the form they're in was highly unlikely. So, at the end of the day, the squad threw everything they could. The management did everything they could to try and win the game. It wasn't quite enough, but there were periods in which we looked like we might actually win it. So I think, full credit to everybody involved. I want a special mention to George Evans, who I think has been tremendous since he's come in. He would not have expected to have been playing first team games this season, and I doubt the management would have thought that either. So for him to come in, and I know that first game was a bit rocky, but after that he's looked very, very good actually. And I don't think we should be relying on a lad of his age for next season, but maybe he could be our number 2. I mean, he could be playing the cup games. He's he certainly is developing at a hell of a rate. I love his kicking. I think he's very good at distributing the ball, and he seems pretty good in the air, all things considered. I was thinking about obviously the summer and the transfers, and I think there are a number of players, the likes of Leonard and Cooper and Saville and Honeyman, who I think have all improved under Alex Neil, and I think have proven their worth to the club and as squad members. So I hope all of them do stay. Actually, there are obviously the ones that are not playing, and maybe some of those are injured, but some of those may also be moving on. So good luck to them. I hope they find a club to move to. But I think, with the likes of Kramer and Kundal and Aziz and Ivanovic now, regular first team starters, you add those to the players that I mentioned that might stay, and you've got a basis of a really good competitive championship squad, and I think that's really exciting for next season. So come on, let's get some players in to add to that group. Maybe 1 or 2 experienced players. We don't necessarily need all youth, but a couple of players that maybe could just fill a couple of roles. I certainly hope we sign Sturge as well. I think he's looked very good, huge potential, and if he is a free agent in the summer, he'd be a cracking signing and certainly fit the criteria player that we're trying to sign. So yeah, and also I think finally, credit has got to go to Jimmy Berylson and the board of the club, because ultimately they made some pretty important decisions about letting people go at high positions within the club earlier in the season, and of course when you had Neil Harris at war with the with the recruitment team, it was not ideal. So I think Alex Neil has come in and done a superb job at turning that around and unifying the squad and the club into a style of play that he wants to produce, and it has worked, and it has looked really good as well. So anyway, that's it for me. Looking forward to the summer. Thank you to everybody who was contributing. I've really enjoyed listening to this show, and I think you do a great job in presenting it. So keep up the good work. Come on, you Lions.
Nick Hart, Bobby T, can I have one more last say on the Achtung Millwall Amazing show, which really gets under my fucking skin right here? Forget the referee today. Forget we tried hard. I'm proud of the boys. But you know what it is, really and truly? Forget the referee and the free kicks and Saville and Honeyman in the referee's ear. The FA don't want us up. They didn't let us win, because we could have took them at 1-1. Right, forget the playoffs, and look, there you go, Leeds pit them, the fucking Burnley. What I'm trying to say is the FA don't want Millwall in the Premier League. So next season we have to finish top 2. We have to go top 2 next season. Yeah, Leicester, Southampton coming down, but Millwall, no one likes us. They fear us. They wanted us in the playoffs, the Premiership, and Bristol City, you little wankers, right? For a start, yeah, you shouldn't even be there. It's fucking really got. Anyway, I'm going to finish on the FA never wanted us in the Premier League. They're all scared of us. No one likes us. Next season, we will be there, top 2. Mark my words. Bye for now, Bobby T.
All right, Nick. Hope I'm not too late for this. But yeah, just calling in off the back of the final day of the season. Burnley 3, Millwall 1. I watched this on a stream with my dad, like I think a lot of other people did. I think first and foremost, just want to say how incredibly proud I am, and I think everyone else is, of the efforts of the playing staff, the coaching staff, everyone who works at the club, in kind of contributing to a really exciting finish to the season. We're making a habit of becoming bridesmaids for the playoffs. Never quite the bride, but I think that's when you look at our history, barring 2 or 3 campaigns in the 2000s and 90s, and obviously the late 80s, most famously, we've always been a bottom half championship, top half League One club. So we are moving in the right direction still, through various different managers as well. So it's not just the Rowett effect. I think the whole club now feels equipped to be top half championship. So yeah, really, really good effort from everyone. As for the game, I really felt that we were very positive and very bright in that first, I don't know, say half an hour or so. It was very end to end. The effort that the players put in was unquestionable. I don't think anyone can accuse the players of not taking the task seriously. I think in the end, what's cost us is ultimately Burnley are just a better side than us, and more than just having better quality. I think their levels of fitness, athleticism, I think you could see that today. It's Premier League level, isn't it? And we can't really compete with that. And I think even the Burnley commentators on the very biased stream I was watching were saying, Millwall pressing very intensely. Can they keep us up for 90 minutes? And, the answer was no. But, if Coburn scores that goal, who knows what happens? But I still imagine even if Coburn does score that, we go on to lose the game. I think I just want to, just congratulate everyone at the club again. I think, especially with all the disruptions we've had this season, we've made a real habit at this club of finishing strongly. So maybe next season we can start on the front foot. And I don't know, is top six asking too much? I feel like we're placing a lot of expectation on the next season now, and we don't really deal with that expectation very well historically. But I'm excited. Thinking about players we didn't have out there today, the likes of Negley, Bangura Williams, and a couple of others like Joe Bryan, even Danny Mack, Jensen, players that would have maybe kind of given us something extra for that run in. It's very exciting thinking. The only real loss that I can see happening, unless someone comes in for Ivanovic, is Tanganga. And we have a ready-made replacement in Tristan Kramer, who's looked very, very good in the centre of defence in recent weeks. I think just as an overall review of the season, I think, you're always tempted to look at the games that you could have won, or games against relegation battlers. You're thinking, well, we should have really put them to bed, or we should have really beaten them. But I think on the whole, thinking of our performances, I can't really think of too many teams who we've played where I'm thinking, we should have won that, or we were better than them. I think if anything, we've tended to get results from games where we haven't been the better side necessarily. Sheffield Wednesday away springs to mind, but also Stoke at home, which probably should have been a 0-0, if not for a fairly soft penalty. The Leeds game where we were absolutely magnificent, but they definitely had their chances. I think actually only QPR away in the early part of the season is the only game that I've really come away thinking, shit, we've been robbed here. So we definitely outperformed. I think we definitely got results that eclipse our performances, I think, on the whole this season. But exciting times at the Den. Let's see what Alex can do in the summer. All right, cheers, Nick. Bye.
Hello, Nick. Mark Willoughby. Just calling in to sort of share my thoughts about the season, really. Exciting season in a lot of ways. Many ups and downs. Obviously, we started off with a tricky summer, and things weren't quite right with Harris. That obviously manifested itself with him disappearing, and then Alex Neil coming. Alex Neil has done a fantastic job. I think he really gets Millwall. I think he genuinely enjoys being there and working with the players. And I think the players should take great credit for how honest and hardworking they've been, especially since he came, when it looked like after we sort of shored things up, it looked like it was sort of mid-table mediocrity for us, but they really, really put a shift in, and despite injuries and problems and setbacks, it was incredible finish to the season, and once again we're with a shout of the playoffs and the final day of the season, which is a magnificent achievement really for a club of our size. I think it's been 3 times at least that's happened in the time that we've been back up in the Championship. It starts at the top, of course. Great credit to the Berylsons and for backing the club and for all the signings in the January window. So they've put their money where their mouth is, and I think we can, if we have a decent summer, God willing, we don't have any deaths or problems, and we can have a good pre-season with the same manager that we retain for the whole season coming up. Make a few key signings, and we can be very confident about the future. The Venerable Bede had a less well-known dictum, which was thou shalt appoint Scottish managers if thou desireth success. And we've done that. So let's hope for good things. So I hope that everyone has a good summer. Hope you have a good summer and a nice break, Nick. Thanks for all you do. We all appreciate it, and we love the podcast and being part of it. And thanks to all the contributors. I hope they have a good summer. And we come back refreshed and raring to go, because I think it could be a really exciting season coming up. And it would be nice if we didn't just have a shot at the playoffs in the last game of the season, but we're already safely in the playoffs come the last game of the season. That, I think, should be our objective. So have a good time, everyone. Come on, you Lions.
Morning, Nick. Just Adam Wixedge leaving my thoughts after yesterday's valiant 3-1 defeat away at Burnley. I think just a couple of bits from me on the game. I thought first half, we were pretty sensational, to be fair. We really give them, we went blow for blow with Burnley. And, it was a really commendable effort. And second half, they just moved the ball about too much, and I think it's just, it's just another example of just a game too far with the squad, and tired legs and not having maybe quite the right options to bring on. And I think, I would say, no one should really get too much flack for yesterday, because they've all put in a massive shift over the last few weeks. But for us to come away with a win there, we would have had to take every opportunity and scored that came our way. Been absolutely flawless at the back and not made any mistakes. We would have had to have the referee probably be a little bit fairer than he was, and Alex Neil would have had to have got his starting lineup and every change pretty much spot on to the minute it was required, with an immediate impact. And I think when you consider all of those possibilities sort of happening, it was never really gonna come off, and I'm really proud of how they acquitted themselves and gave it a go. We could have gone up there and just tried to be defensive and nick a goal, but we really tried to hurt them where we could. And I think, I like the way we go about things. And then I think just to sort of finish up, I think just, again, I know I've sort of touched on this in previous voice notes, but when was the last time we had any sort of vanilla style season that didn't have some drama in it? I mean, it is a great club to follow. Things are never boring. We always seem to be in the mix at one end or the other. I think that this probably is one of our better ever finishes in sort of historical terms. I think the future looks bright. We've got some really talented players. We've added more talented players. I think if the recruitment keeps going the way it's going, we're only going to add we're only going to add more, and we're only going to get stronger. And I think, you know, we're going to be a real threat next season. You know, the teams coming down obviously have the advantage of the money, but I think we're getting there. I think we are getting there, and it's really exciting time. So, you know, time for a obviously well-deserved break for the players now, and I'm sure they'll be raring to go. And I think just for me as well, I really would like to see Saville retained. I think he's really shown what he can give us over the last few weeks with Mitchell being out, and he's provided a sort of leadership role that I think we are going to require, especially with his sort of Hutchinson's moving on now. Time for someone else to sort of take that mantle, and he's definitely got something to offer. But, you know, all things considered, I'm very happy with how the season's panned out, and I'm very excited for next season and the future. So hope everyone enjoys the summer, and come on, you Lions.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.